Good morning. I haven't streamed for a while, so that means I've probably got a lot to say, but I'm going to try and keep it relatively short because there isn't actually that much certainty yet, but there are some critical things to be aware of. So obviously, Bitcoin's had a crazy move. I understand I got an email yesterday from the JLabs newsletter, which is worth subscribing to if you don't already, because they were talking about options. So I don't fully understand options. I have never traded them, never looked into them really, but they were talking about a lot of options having been, I guess, short down at the 52k level, thinking it was going to drop, and then as soon as the price started going up, they needed to cover, and they cover, I think, by going long, and then there was some data saying for every 1% price move they needed to buy $17 million worth of Bitcoin to just turn the volume of my music down a bit in case I'm deafening you. They needed to buy $17 million worth of Bitcoin to cover their options, and thus we saw this massive squeeze. And then in addition we had a short squeeze, and then obviously the ETFs buying as well. So ETF data you can find here at farside.co.uk, page 997. You can't actually see that on the screen, but it's Bitcoin ETF flow table. Let me know in the group if you need the link for that if you can't find it. But yeah, so this tells you it's only at the end of the day, so it doesn't necessarily help you on the day, but it tells you the flows from each of the ETF funds. So on Fridays, we can see on the 1st of March, on Friday, there was a simple negative from GBTC, and then previous days there's been various, mostly positive. There was one negative on the 21st in total, and then the 27th, 28th were very, very large, or 26th to the 28th were very, very large inflows, thus causing that massive pump, amongst other things. And then subsequently, as we normally see, so we had the Bitcoin pump, then we had Ether, I think, slightly afterwards, which then caused this up move, which I was looking for. I wanted a retest first, which we didn't get, but we got the up move, and then we got the rejection at the expected level. I'll go into that more in a minute. And then as of last night, we've got the majors finally breaking out. And I'd kind of got bored of looking at them by that stage. I've been doing a lot more on other alts recently. And yeah, finally got this big moves on the majors. These are the old majors, not so much on the new majors, although I guess they're coming. So Link has had a pump yesterday, I see, and Matic again. Yeah, so these are all sort of catching up now as of overnight. I haven't looked at these yet today. What have we got on the other new majors? So Sol hasn't moved a great deal, and Dots started to move, taking a while to load. Some of my new alerts coming in. Okay, so Atom, Near's moved a bit finally, but yeah, I'll do another stream on these a little bit later, and I need to update for all the monthly levels and things. Some of them I managed to get longs, others I haven't. I had a blip where I decided to do shorts in here on the 22nd because I thought we'd go lower, so I had a few. Only this one on this page had shorts in there, which obviously didn't work very well. And then we've had some obviously massive moves on some of the other alts, and again mostly I've had short alerts hitting, but some longs, like when we did have the drop, but the problem is it's been quite hard to get into longs, so these have all been very tradable on the lower time frames, but from a higher time frame perspective, you know, even Turbo here, I think I had this alert in for that 3-day quite early, but it didn't even touch it. So yeah, while I've had some hit, I've had a lot completely miss, which is somewhat frustrating. But now on the alts, we've got a lot of monthly demands. So if we do come down, we have decent support, which is good to know. The real critical things for the market to be aware of now. So Bitcoin, obviously, from my previous updates I've had, so initially I was looking at this swing fail of that monthly level, and I think that was a 2022 high into the 3-week. slightly missed the 3-week, and then went straight through it on the retest. A very small correction there, and I really was expecting a bigger correction there, having had so much up, but as obviously then we got the other factors that I just talked about, the options and the ETF buying and all that. Excuse the mess on this chart, it's sort of a medium to high time frame chart these days. Obviously now approaching all-time high, and then we've come into this very top weekly zone. So it's now like it's just do or die really. Like, are we going to break out here? Are we going to make a double top? And just needs time. And other than that, it's really guessing. Obviously, we saw a decent sell-off, but not in the big picture. So it felt like a big sell-off on the lower time frames on this candle on Wednesday, with a low of 58, or 59, and a high of 64. So that's a massive move for a daily move, but in the bigger picture, it really isn't very much at all. And this is not given me any structure to say a macro short yet. Korea. So one of the other things, that maybe I underestimated was I've mentioned before, the Japanese, Korea and Chinese pairs all had made annual demand. And Korea is obviously the one that most people know that I follow quite a lot, and it really just sat on top of that annual demand before this move. So it's very unsurprising looking at this chart in isolation. And again, would have been nice to get a sort of slightly bigger correction here, at least to just see what was going on, but no, it just blasted straight through. The yen pair again was at all-time high. I haven't looked at this actually, so now it's obviously, was at all-time high already and has significantly broken all-time high. Didn't quite tap, I think I had an alert there, I can't remember if it hit or not, but didn't quite tap the annual level, but again, made an annual demand. Also, it doesn't quite tap here, so the yen pair isn't necessarily the best for looking for confluence, but the Korean pair tends to be better. But yeah, so again, not unsurprising. So yeah, the Korea pair, obviously, that was very confluent with the low that I was looking for. But yeah, so now we've had this breakout, are we going to hold up here and continue or not? The things to be aware of on other charts, which, so US dollar dominance. So again, as per my last update, I had an alert on the 3-day up here, didn't hold. But now we're down into 6-month demand. So this is now like really a critical, let me just take things off the chart so you can see. And it's obviously a big zone, so it doesn't necessarily have to bounce off the top of it, but I would expect some sort of bounce off the top of it. It's now made a monthly supply, so is it just going to bounce straight up into there? I don't know. Would be a big drop on Bitcoin if it did. But again, this is a critical level to be aware of. So it doesn't necessarily mean jump into shorts on everything, but just like manage your longs, because we can bounce at any time in here. So on the lower time frame, we're sort of hitting. So we've hit the 6-month in there, there's a weekly level just a little bit below, and then there's a 3-day, which I'll mark out down here. But again, just looking for what the reaction we're going to get in here is, and then there's a monthly, I think there's a monthly level, so we've got 6-month there, and then older monthly back here. So, it's a huge zone, so obviously we can go a lot deeper, but just be a little bit wary at this point, amongst other things. So I'm just kind of watching this, and so we made a week daily supply, well, it was created as of yesterday, and it has come off that, as you can see today, but it's weak, like the red candle didn't close below this low, below the low of the green. So as you can see, we're just trying to break out of this trend line. And like I say, I'd like to see a decent move off this, but at the moment, we had that first bounce, obviously when Bitcoin dropped, but then it's been a slow retracement, which again is promising. It didn't like drop straight back down, like a lot of these dropped a lot faster. So again, just looking for that double bottom here to then give further confirmation in the market. The amalgamated US dollar pairs I haven't really looked at, but these I know were already, well, this is in, so the one with BUSD, although BUSD is no longer, is also in a monthly demand, and is in the much bigger 6-month already. It's just deeper inside it. And similarly, the USDC and DAI without BUSD included is also at a very solid level. So it was in the 6 month and then in a weekly inside it. So also a very solid level for a bounce here. On top of that, 70 fib, and I think the tether, let me go back to that quickly, is not, it's just above the 61 fib actually. So again, potentially a little bit lower if it wants to follow the fibs there. Total, not surprisingly following Bitcoin, and now actually the alts have taken it up to finally it's aligned. So Bitcoin was always a little bit ahead of this structurally, but now it seems to have finally aligned itself with the alts and probably the majors pushing up. Let me just have a look at what it did. No, I guess the alts have just taken it up and over across the last week. So again, possible area for rejection, much like Bitcoin. Total 2, so that's excluding Bitcoin. Now finally in the monthly supply, and again, yeah, like again, all my previous updates, I've sort of said, you know, we had this pause here, but I wasn't really confident that we were going to drop at that point, and I would only be confident if we broke this weekly demand, which we never did. Now with a new monthly demand in there, total 3, which is now excluding Ether. Again, I haven't put that monthly in yet, so let me just add this monthly. So this one is finally approaching, so we're at 3-week supply up there. Again, I'd like this a touch higher, and that plays into my thoughts on Ether a little bit. So, which, like I said, I shall get to. Nobody watching in here at the moment, but so I'm hoping volume's all okay. So yeah, the monthly demand we've got in there, and 61 fib is very slightly higher on this. So I guess total 3. No, this is not Ether actually. This is without Ether. So I guess we've still got a little bit of space for the alts in there. Others I know hit my alert. So this I had alerted. Take that 3-week out now. This I had alerted for the monthly supply in here, and that hit my alert last night. So again, another interesting point and potential point of rejection. So just be a little bit careful on alts. And you'll see on many of the alt charts anyway, they're at this monthly level. And it doesn't mean we're not going to break out, but it's certainly an area that I would expect some sort of reaction, maybe a consolidation. You know, if we're bullish, still consolidation through here, followed by taking out the high. Or if it's bearish, this can still be a bearish retest. So I'm very indecisive on across the market. So, you know, there's the sort of options in here that this correction is just done. You know, again, from an Elliott perspective, you know, there's A, B, C is possible to here, C is possible to here. Depends if we can have this weak or shallow C. That would be an unusual C through there if this is a bigger correction of that last up move. And that, I guess, from a simple perspective would be my preference, because we didn't come down into this yearly demand. We didn't really, we only corrected 38%. We haven't had that C wave, but then again, you know, we look back to the waves in 2015, 2016, and we didn't really get a decent C wave. We only did potentially here because of COVID. But I guess at least it was trying to give us a C wave even before the COVID drop. Just take those lines off. So yeah, that's if we're getting a bigger correction. If this is still a correction rather than an impulse, then there's still the possibility that we get a significant drop from here. So don't discount that. However, now having got monthly demand in there and 3 monthly demand in here, I expect, you know, even if that does play out, it's going to take us a very long time. There's also a distinct possibility we consolidate through here, and that happens. So we just really need to see what's going to happen at this point, and there's no reason to stop longing alts. I would just be wary, a lot more wary. It's not, you know, you certainly can't be buying and holding on leverage like we have had previously. Yeah, so that's all those. I haven't looked at the dominance charts yet, so quick look at those. Okay, so we've made a new 2 monthly demand here, but again weak. So a very interesting spot here. So 3 months of supply level, right, or 3 month indirect level starting there, and then this 2 month demand. So again, is Bitcoin going to sort of start wavering in dominance now? And if that's the case, where's the dominance going to flow to? And obviously, from we've just seen the US dollar chart, we're kind of expecting there's a fair likelihood that it flows into here. This again, it's a weak, there is demand there, it's a weak one, so again, we just need to see the reaction, and this could just be a very, the way this is structured now, could be a very long consolidation, so, you know, we could just bounce in here, go up, that would be the simplest, but is weak demand, not necessarily that likely, but again, if we come down into here, then we've got another monthly, 2 monthly below, so again, are we just going to have some consolidation through here? Alternatively, is Bitcoin just going to crash? But yeah, there's just, it's messy at the moment, and until we see, so unless we see a month, you know, this drop and a monthly close below, flipping this to monthly supply, then we've still got a lot further to go before we see that on the monthly, from a monthly perspective. Ether again, like, you know, obviously we had a lot of Ether strength, but it just came back up into a 3 monthly supply from the dominance perspective. I don't love the dominance chart on Ether because I don't find it that reliable. Has got a monthly demand below, so I guess we can just see what happens if we come into there. But again, I really would have liked this to be lower if it follows TA. Others dominance, so had a big jump off that 3 weekly demand in there. So I haven't looked at those. So there's a 2 month demand below that was already there. Again, I prefer the market cap charts to the dominance charts. I prefer, so dominance I tend not to predict, but I just tend to be wary if we are hitting a supply, more than actually using that to predict what's going to happen. But you know, if you're hitting a supply on dominance. But so I guess the main point of showing you all these things is that you can see that we are at a possible massive inflection point. So yes, we still need to see confirmation, but since the DeFi dominance is up hitting monthly supply, and this has probably been that this is one of the weaker. So, you know, I don't know if DeFi is going to play like a catch-up role, because a lot of the other alts are up here structurally. And obviously we had this big drop from May 2022 that hasn't been matched on the DeFi. Whereas, you know, so this structure of others is a bit different, but obviously has come up a lot higher relatively than the DeFi. So I'm not sure if DeFi is going to play catch-up, and or are we going to have a bigger alt season now? But again, we're still hitting this trend line. I don't know, I need to see a bit more from this. But at the moment, so you can see there's a big inflection point. We've got that US dollars critically is at 6 month demand, but we need to see the lower time frames really just help confirm anything here. And for now, you know, it hasn't confirmed any sort of change in structure. You can watch this trend line, which as I speak is starting to break a little bit. But again, we've seen similar. And yeah, this could easily just reject in here. If this goes through here, then we start looking for longs up to 3 day daily supply up here, and then this monthly. And the reason I just want to look back at this quickly, so again, rather than getting too overexcited that we're going into a major bear market, just remember this structure from back in December, January, and that we were just simply watching this. It felt like Bitcoin was going to drop, or the whole market was going to drop. We had some decent corrections on alts, etc., but we really only just got up to weekly supply before a significant drop again. So there's no reason that's not going to happen. That we've got a bigger gap this time. So if this is to bounce now and retrace all the way up to the monthly, that's obviously going to mean a significant drop on Bitcoin, or even the 3 monthly up here. But there's various things to get through between now and then. Obviously we've got the daily immediately here, but at least this 3 day here, that would be my next zone of interest. Similar to this, you know, if we're going to see a move up, I want to see a stronger move up into here if I'm going to be very bearish on the market. If we just weekly go up into there, same as we did here, then I'll probably expect another drop later, and then Bitcoin to come up and break all-time high. But those are the things I'm going to be watching on those time frames, on the high time frames for the market indicators, and the market indicators generally being significantly more useful than Bitcoin. So I was looking at Bitcoin earlier, and again, just trying to so I used to do a lot of pattern comparisons, and I was generally quite good at sort of seeing the smaller structures, but what I've been seeing when I was looking at this yesterday, like, I mean, apart from anything else, like, so again, people keep comparing 2016 and 2018, and then we don't have the full 2014 to 16 on this chart, but like, there really isn't. We've got 3 different bull runs, and they really don't look the same at all. So to then say, oh, this should be doing the same as 2016 and 2014, like 2018 and 2014, I'm highly dubious. You know, and certainly if this breaks out now, it's going to be more resembling of 2016, but if it had dropped there, then we go, it's more resembling 2018, 2019. So I was looking at the lower time frames, and I don't want to talk about this vastly, but I mean, there are the similarities here to this, which I've seen people mention before, you know, that this section being like that section, and then, you know, now we're going to get this big impulse upwards, which obviously at the moment is what it's looking like. Even in the, let's go down to the daily. So yeah, again, like, I don't want to talk about this too much, but there's similarities here where we had, I'm going in a bit more detail, we had this sort of choppy mess going up here, and then we had a more decent correction there, and then we had this bigger correction on top of it before continuing. And if we compare this to now, we would be around here. So let me go over. So again, that choppy part is this is lower. This is more extended. This is a lower, not a lower time frame. It's the same time frame, but this is a quicker version essentially. So that would be the choppy mess followed by this bigger correction in here, and then that's the little chop there, and this is where we are now. So potentially going into this bigger top, so you can argue that, but then also there's an argument for it to be similar to this as well. We had the choppy mess, we had the correction, and then the blow off top, potentially incoming, and we're sort of here or here. So yeah, those patterns I think aren't overly reliable. So really what I'm just looking at is structure here. If we create a daily supply now, that would be very nice to short, because it's looking quite promising. As far as if we drop, and so I know at least one person in my group's a bit upset because he was out, I think, at 45k, and I said you just need to wait for it to drop now, and then it didn't. But I mean, it's the same for me. Like I flipped back to Tether at 45k from a spot perspective, just purely because I didn't trust Bitcoin. I didn't want to watch it the whole time because I was a little bit busy. But yes, I've missed a 20% move or whatever, but it doesn't concern me because you can trade that back in alts or in anything else. And if it's not a high, you know, I still talk in risk to reward, you know, I'm not a holder. So if it's not a high probability trade, if it doesn't give me the entry I want, then I simply don't take the trade. You know, in this case, like I wanted it to come lower. So I did exit shorts, I think at the bottom or close to the bottom here, but yeah, I wanted it lower to get in the longs, and then it didn't. But then also again in my updates, I said if it held this 8 hour, that this was the zone I was looking to be reclaimed, and if it held that, then we'd be good for longs, and it did exactly that in here before the bigger up move. Then also, having said that, like I did, was looking for a possibility of shorting a retest of this candle, which it just gave nothing off. So and similarly, yeah, that was, yeah, the 3 week, again, I was looking also for a swing failure in here of the 3 week, and we got something very brief but not much. So it is what it is. But for me, on the bigger picture, I just want it to come down. The problem is now, obviously there's just a million different zones, so just showing you without my stuff on it because it looks because it's so messy. So we've got 3 month here if it comes all the way down here, and Bitcoin on a bull run tends not to do that, but that's a 3 month I would look at as a zone I would look at if it comes back there, even possibly off the top of here, 46s if it retests. Sorry, somebody's calling from me outside. I need to just go on pause for a moment. Sorry about that. Had my neighbour locked themselves out, so I had to let them in. I also took the opportunity to light a cigarette. Okay, so 3 months demand there. Possibility of bouncing off the top here. Again, that's not really confirmed on that high time frame, but could find support here. Yeah, that's the 46s. So nothing new. So the 3 month there, I've already said. We've got a monthly down here, which got tested already. And we've got a 3 week higher, 2 week in there, and now CME has made a weekly in here. So that's kind of probably the initial point I'm looking at to see if it holds or not. And again, if we flip that, looking for a short, potentially down into here, where the next 3 weekly is. So that's the problem. And then when I put it on the chart, all the levels are all the kind of green crosses that I'm looking at. So I've got alerts at all these levels, and I still need to do some work and sort of think through what kind of, whether I would want to limit them or not. So from an Elliott wave perspective, we have the one wave and the correction. There's another wave and a correction, so we could have this could be a wave 3, 4, 5. So we have options on the fib front. The problem is I don't love them. So if we have the fib, if we assume this is an ABC and it's done, 61 and 70 fib down here are perfectly reasonable places to look for a re-entry. So that's in the mid-20s, and that would be the sort of higher time frame picture. That's on the log, from the log fib perspective, and again then from a linear fib, the fibs come slightly higher, and we'd be looking at 30 to 35. And all of these align with the zones that I've already got. So I think linear fibs tend to be a little less reliable when we're doing big moves on Bitcoin, but more reliable on the small moves. But yeah, I find fibs hard because on the bigger picture, I never quite know whether I should use log or linear. But I think you can look at reaction at any of those levels. But either way, so I actually want to look at the volume profile for this whole thing, so I'll do that in a minute. But yeah, so if we were to correct the whole move, down in the 20s and 30s is obviously reasonable types of places for the high time frame entries. So that was that fib. And then also if we fib the local wave, if we assume this is one wave and a correction, this is a second wave, and then we're going to get a correction. Still significant drop. So what am I on? I'm on the linear at the moment. So the linear would take the 61 to 70 area, would take us down to here. And this is just sort of one of the things that I'm aware of on Bitcoin. So while this is a 3 week zone, and I would look for longs coming into that 3 week zone, it wouldn't surprise me off a Bitcoin perspective if it takes out the zone. So there is a 3 day just below, but then it takes out the zone, but then doesn't come back to where you really want it to come back to, which is the monthly or 3 monthly below. And this kind of fib tallies with that quite nicely, that if we come into this area, so we take out the obvious area there, or perhaps bounce there, take it out, and then go up, and use this as support versus coming all the way back to here. So again, that would be if we correct this whole move now. And then the final, which I haven't actually drawn on yet, what if we just correct? This is assuming this is the top, all of this as well. So again, if we correct this, I don't love the alignment here. We've got the 50 on that weekly there, and the 78 there. So I don't know, I can actually see, what are we on? If this was the log fib. Again, the alignment's not great on this, but it's a similar sort of situation here, that while we've got a weekly demand there. So at the moment, my most aggressive higher time frame alerts are here on this weekly, and then also with the potential of taking out that weekly into the daily zone just underneath it. Because again, it's just Bitcoin and it wouldn't surprise me at all. So those are the kind of levels I'm looking at in the short term, well, mid-term. And then if we get some sort of rejection here, if we keep going up, then I'm going to have to redo all these fibs, and hence why I don't want to look into too much detail on this. But those are the bigger picture retracement or zones that you're looking at. Or looking at DCAing, and if that's where you want to get back in. And frankly, for me, like I say, if it doesn't come down there, then I just don't get the entry, and I'll wait. You know, and if you have to wait 2-3 years for it, then you have to wait 2-3 years for it, because there's a million other alts you can trade, or Ether, or anything else that will come back to zones, even if Bitcoin doesn't. You know, and so when I say, you know, looking for those entries where you can, you know, obviously this whole bull run that we had in 2020, if we are at the same spot, you know, just never came back to any of those. So again, the other thing you're looking for is, are we going to do something like this? And, you know, even if it doesn't come back to the zone you want for the entry, you know, and I would have been looking, and I do remember looking for entries, I think it gave one there, but then, you know, just didn't come back. It just kept going and going. But again, you're looking for any sort of structure that tells you, if we can get a bigger structure that tells me for a long, then that's great. Or if you get a lower time frame structure that tells you to scalp and then you can just hold it and see what happens, that's also fine. So if we don't come back, we don't come back. And if we do come back, there's a fair chance that ultimately, if we do any of these sort of bigger drops, that we're going to end up all the way back down here, because that's what Bitcoin does. And it will, like, when it wants to retrace, it will retrace a lot. So that's about all I have to say on that, I think. So the TLDR version is wait for something to give you any semblance of looking for a short up here. You know, even this gave some semblance of looking for a short, but then just went powered straight through it. So be very careful on your short side. But there is a high risk to reward on shorting now if you can get the decent entry on the low time frame and hold, and this is the top, and there are signs that it could be the top. As I've said on US dollar, then that's fine. But if you want to get the more completely lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to try and get for shorts, but shorts aren't viable at the moment. They're like, unless on the scalping on the low time frames, there isn't any structure that tells me to short this as yet on the you know, 8 hour, 4 hour, etc. And on top of that, on CME, we were still making 4 hour demands, and we had an 8 hour demand, and nothing's broken on CME either. So plus CME is still operating at a massive premium. So I think I commented in the previous consolidation that the CME premium had dropped, and it had down here, but then it maybe even significantly lower in the 52s. But then it's come up, and now I think it's trading at $700 or $800 over the normal US dollar pair. So and also the Korea had a much bigger premium as well. So there's obviously other drivers, but like, if we see that CME premium die off, and we might see that, I was thinking it's possible we'll see that over the weekend. You know, if Bitcoin goes up over the weekend and closes higher, then we could see that CME then matches in price when it opens. So at the moment it's 63.3, which obviously is up here. So if the US dollar pair can close up here, then it's possible they'll open at roughly the same price. So that could be something interesting to watch. But if the premium's still there, then again, you know, we're still seeing that buying on CME driving everything. Similarly, if US dollar starts to get through here, that's something else to watch. If this starts to look stronger here, then I'd be much more confident of looking for shorts, and also keep an eye on the Korea pair as always. Okay, so what do we have? 30 minutes on the entire market. That's not too bad for me. And quickly on Ether, maybe not quickly on Ether, because I feel that I need to think about it a bit more. So I'll just do a very quick update on this. So basically, Ether was in this, I kind of left it alone, like I was looking for shorts again down here, and then after it broke through here, I just left it alone because it was a whole choppy mess over to the left with lacking clarity. You know, all these lots of 3 days in here, but none of them have been tested. So again, still could possibly reject here. We are at the top of the monthly supply. It doesn't always have to take out stops, but my next level of interest was just looking over here. If we look for the monthly swing level here, if we look for this to take out the high, and potentially take stops into this 3 day. You know, if it's very strong, go up into the weekly up here. Also an untested weekly here. Oops. And 3 day at the top, but. So again, it's in significant fib zones where we can expect a retracement. But having come so high in this monthly and with the rest of the market performing so well, I don't know, I wouldn't mind if this goes higher, and at the moment it is showing me that it can. So daily demand in there, a weak daily demand, but again, I'm looking for that to hold. So this I think is a better long than Bitcoin if you really want to look for a long now. Look for the possibility of this daily holding, because if this holds, you know, we've got a tight stop and easy invalidation on this, and possibility of going up, at least taking out the monthly higher or even higher. On this was not a I think this is going to happen. This was an if this happens type scenario. What it was also tallied with was that was the ETH-BTC pair. So ETH-BTC pair did what I expected, but the drop did not coincide with the drop on Ether US dollar. It basically coincided with Bitcoin pumping more rather than Ether dropping more, rather than both dropping and Ether dropping more. So again, Korea's got that daily demand. So, and we're also now on ETH-BTC. So again, I'll just do another update on this. So this has hit obviously daily demand, got a weekly demand in there as well. So just looking for what this is going to do at this point, because it's triangling. You can see it's like still within that larger trend line coming down there, and still just above this trend line here. But again, just to recap previous, this is what I was looking at from back in 2018, 2019. And this is very similar to what we've done here. We had the big pump, we had the retest, we had the pump taking to the high and retesting, and now we're kind of here or there. But we're sort of in this section if this is going to mimic the same pattern there. So if it does mimic the same pattern, then potentially we can expect ETH-BTC to start dropping down to here. Need to have a look at it again. It's still much smaller scale here, but you can see that's the pump, there's the pump, and then again coming back into here, into there, and again, are we going to drop back down to the bottom here, then maybe have another pump and then have a bigger drop? That would be my preferred scenario for this, because again, like Ether dominance, I don't, you know, swing failing off this low here. Yes, I guess it's possible we can find support there, but I kind of wanted a bigger drop down into there. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it. But if we can break this structure and have it not look the same as 2018, then great. I'm going to hide this now. But at the moment it is really copying what 2018 is doing, and we have another 3-day supply up here now. So again, we're just looking really for the triangle and what the triangle breakout's going to do here, diamond or whatever you want to call it. But stuck between weekly demand, weekly supply, made a daily supply, made a 3-day supply. So we need to see some of these supplies break. So we had an up move that broke structure to the left, kind of, or at least lower time frame structures. It's past the retest, so we've got that first higher low. Now we need the second higher high for this to confirm an uptrend, and we don't have that yet. But we may get that if Ether can pull out some more up here. So yeah, looking for this daily demand to hold on Ether. So I'm going to leave that there. That's a 40-minute update across the whole market, so you really know what I'm looking at, and you can see that we're on sort of tenterhooks with the whole market now. And the things to watch if we're looking for a bigger reversal. Hope that's of some use. Any questions? Just talk to me in the chat. Please like and subscribe. Don't normally ask that, but you know, I really want to get the viewers on this to make it worthwhile doing and for helping some people. Yeah, so share it wherever you can, and let me know if you have any questions. Hope you have a good day. I'll be back shortly. I'm gonna have a break now, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a look at the old majors and the new majors. You can see Litecoin's just blasting through this 2-month supply at the moment. It's just hitting a weekly. But yeah, and then yeah, so what I'm also looking for on these again is that market confluence. But I have had a quick look, but I just didn't really. It's not that clear. So I'm going to need to let things run a bit more first. But I'll come back and do these in more detail shortly, and have a look also at the Bitcoin pairs, which I presume are now pumping finally, or at least. But the Bitcoin pairs also give quite a good idea of when the market's going to reverse. Okay, so that's it. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later.